how did you and Billy Billingham end up getting taken hostage?
That's quite a bizarre one, actually. That was fairly low key and was kept right off the grid for obvious reasons. And it wasn't until Billy mentioned it really on Who Dares Wins when he was doing escape and evasion and a capture type scenario on there, and he actually alluded to the fact that he'd actually been captured. So then the story came out, and there's Billy's side of it and there's my side of it. Bearing in mind that we're in the same vehicle, captured at the same time, slightly different variants, and and I've had a chat about Billy to Billy about this, and it's funny how different people's memories remember things slightly different. So for me, it wasn't a big drama. I'd just come back from Northern Ireland doing undercover work for 2 years. So I knew how to give a good cover story. So when we set this meeting up between two generals, which is a Muslim general, General Dadakovic, who was quite high up, pretty fearsome individual, to be quite frank, because he was in charge of 5 corps who were the sort of Behatch area, which is the north west of the country, and it was an enclave, really, a Muslim enclave that had withstood all the Serb attacks on it, so held out. So good on him, quite a hardcore individual, and a Serb general, and it was all about troop movement. It wasn't anything special. It was just to get these two generals together so that they can decide, where troops are going to be when the ceasefire came in. So not a big issue, just get your heads together, bang your heads together, and get a grip, So me and Billy went down there the day before just to recce the area, as you do. Time spent on recce is very seldom wasted, as we say. Went down there for the recce day before. Went down the Serb front lines and had a quick chat with them, had a coffee, Slivovich, and said, listen, we'll see you again. And they all seemed quite friendly. Bear in mind that we didn't look like UN. One thing that we never ever did, even though we came under the UN banner, we certainly never ever looked and operated in the same way as the UN did, because we actually wanted to get the job done. Whereas when you're the UN, your hands are tied somewhat with UN protocol. We were having nothing to do with that, which actually really annoyed most of the UN. Because they'd have their fancy briefings and we'd ignore it and say, listen, we're off. We'll tell you about it later on. So when we went down there, they actually thought we were quite strange looking because we had no UN. But we turned up, me and Billy turned up there. He's got a good sense of humour. I've got a good sense of humour. And we had a good crack, really. Non-threatening. We both had pistols, but we didn't carry longs down there, because carrying a long weapon can be construed as being quite aggressive. So we went down there. We're here in peace. So had a good chat with them. Decided that tomorrow, not a problem at all. So me and Billy then set the meeting up with two other lads. There was 4 of us in our little team. Set the meeting up, and then me and Billy said, listen, let's go down and have another chat with the Serbs, as you do. And I pride myself on being good with situational awareness. It kept me alive quite well over in Belfast for nearly 2 years, but unfortunately, it went out the window, mainly because I was with someone else. I was with Billy. So you tend to rely on each other. Just get on with it. And we went down to the front line, and it was funny because walking down there, it just seemed as if it was slightly different. It wasn't the same atmosphere. And what we totally forgot is, because they'd brought the general up, the Serb general who was now in the meeting, they'd also brought their decent troops up, and they'd completely changed. So these people we never met the day before. So when Mr. Rag and Bone turns up, scruffy hair, longish hair, certainly didn't look like normal squaddies or normal military people, with just a pistol, no UN insignia, no berries, no body armor, none of that sort of pants. We think we spooked them. to be quite frank, and they reared on us straight away. You know, eight of these Serbs with a variant of their AK-47. It's not an AK, but it's pretty similar, the old Yugoslavian version of it, and they pointed the weapons and literally took us prisoner. And not a lot we could have done about it. You know, you can't fight your way. You know, you can't take a pistol to an AK-47 shootout, like, you know, and expect to get away with it. So we accepted the fact that you know, we'd got this wrong, badly wrong. They took us into a little farm building next to a road, gave us a quick tactical questioning, and one of the guys who was doing that, there was a captain there, sorry, a major, and he spoke absolutely perfect English, and so he was doing the talking, and then for some reason he made a phone call and decided that the two of us had to be then taken 45 minutes down the road to a place called Prijedor, which is quite a big city, but it was renowned for having a army base there where they used to take Muslim prisoners, and the Muslim prisoners, unfortunately, were starved and then disappeared or executed. So quite a notorious place, if that makes sense. But again, at no stage did we, you know, have any fears about, you know, what was going on, because, you know, we're trusting people. Just get on with it, like, you know. So they put us in the vehicle. Me and Billy got put in the back. They'd obviously disarmed us, took our spare magazines off us. We had 6 Sauer pistols, 4 spare 20-round magazines. They took them off us. People will come on there and say, 20-round magazine. We had the extended magazines, if that makes sense. So yes, you can get 20. It looks as if, when you look at it, it looks as if your magazine's falling out of your pistol, because about that much of it sticks out the end, out the bottom. And I was forever being tapped on. Excuse me, mate, but your magazine's coming off. No, it isn't. It's 20 round. So they took them off us, took our maps off us, compass, and notebooks. But everything was sterile. There was nothing on there to say that we were SAS or whatever, like, you know, which I think quite annoyed them. The only thing that we did have, we had UN ID cards, and Billy's number was 01, mine was 02, so the numbers were very, very similar. Bear in mind that Billy had been out there about 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks before me, because I was away on a course, and then I sort of joined the 3-man team to bring it up to the 4-man that we normally operate with. So they then decided that we were going to be driven. So 45-minute drive, back seat of the vehicle. Me and Billy were sort of chatting, as you do, chatting away, blah, blah, blah. Actually seeing a lot of troop movement. So we were actually getting more from this than what they were getting out of us, because they were getting nothing from us at all. Like, and we were seeing all their troop movement, and, you know, this is great, fantastic. But you're memorising it as you do and cracking on. But because we were whispering, the major who was driving the vehicle said something to this other guy, who then span round on his seat. You know, for a big lad, he span round pretty quickly to kneel on the front seat, and then he cocked his weapon, or made his weapon ready, i.e., put a round in the chamber. Now, ordinarily, you know, you would have thought that was quite a frightening experience, but me and Billy looked at each other, and I don't know if it is maybe nervousness or whatever, but we started laughing. And the reason being is, if we'd known that he hadn't had a round up in his chamber, we could have jumped him beforehand. We automatically assume that if you're on the front line, most people, normal people, would have a round in the chamber, so you're good to go. So all you do is you pull the trigger and yahoo. But he didn't have a round in the chamber, and that, you know, confused us somewhat. And for professionalism, we were like, that, hold on, you know, that, not very professional. So we had a sort of a quick burst of laughter, and that really annoyed this guy somewhat, because his so-called intimidation wasn't working. Anyway, he sat back down, obviously frustrated. We got the message that, you know, stop talking, because that's why he spun around in the first place. which we did do. We then pulled up into this military camp, then realised where it was, and then they took us into quite a long hut for more interrogation. Now I got dragged in first. I don't know why I got dragged in first, and to be honest, I just acted the dummy and said, "Listen, mate, I've only been here 2 weeks," which I had done. I'd only been there 2 weeks because whereas Billy had been there for 5 weeks. Been there for 2 weeks, and I said, "Listen, mate, all I'm just a driver. I know nothing." And I played on that for the whole hour, and you could see the major getting really frustrated. No, driver, no, nothing. You know, couldn't get anything out of me, so threw me out in disgust, really, into the corridor. And the guy that we laughed at took great pleasure from then on in giving me a bit of a hard time. So anyway, Billy then gets dragged in, obviously for the same interrogation. But poor old Billy made the mistake of trying to speak Serbo-Croat because Billy had been on a 6-week Serbo-Croat course prior to Bosnia. And we sent about 10 people on it just so that we had people within the squadron that could communicate in Serbo-Croat as such. We all had our own interrogators anyway, but it's always nice to understand a bit of the language. I was on a different course. I never got that bit, so I couldn't play on that. So Billy, now they put 2 and 2 together and just thought, Billy must be he must be the switched on one, and Mr. Thicky driver outside must be the idiot, like, you know. So after an hour, Billy came out. 5 minutes, we were in the corridor. Couldn't really communicate because we were quite a way apart. Billy then gets dragged back in again. And this went on then for 5 or 6 times, Billy getting dragged in, and I was just left to, the sadistic sort of treatment of this guy that we'd laughed at, who was now taking great pleasure in either kicking me in the shins, or he had a bayonet that he took pleasure in digging into the side of you, threatening normal sort of tactics that you would expect, intimidation, if that makes sense. Just get on with it, like, you know. And again, wasn't a drama because you expect that, if you're captured by troops, you expect to get a much harder time than what we were actually getting, if that makes sense. So not playing down on it, but it's expected. It's part of your job. Just get on with it, like, you know. So anyway, after about the 4th, 5th, 6th time or whatever it was, so they actually put us fairly close together. So me and Billy were, we could actually speak to each other in the corridor, if that makes sense. And Billy leant over and said, "Mick, fucking hell, mate, what did you tell them?" I went, "Well, sorry, mate, I just said I'm the driver." He went, yeah, but I'm the driver." So we call it in British humour, snooze you lose, mate. I got in there first and said it, and that was my cover story, and it kept me below the radar because they just thought Mr. Thicky, who's he, like, you know. And they concentrated on poor old Billy, if that makes sense. So in the meantime, the other 2 lads had realised that we'd been captured. You had to walk past a normal British UN warrior vehicle of the light infantry who were manning it. And we'd sort of slapped on the side of the vehicle and say, "Listen, lads, we're just going to have a quick chat with the Serbs." They sort of give us a funny look, thinking, "Who the hell are these 2 nutters?" And because we never came back, they just put 2 and 2 together and thought, yeah, they must have been captured. So they then got on to the 2 lads in the meeting who got on a sat phone to General Smith, who was the general down in Sarajevo, and they explained it all to him. Fantastic response. He said, "Listen, not a drama. Go and give a sat phone to the Serbian general. Tell him that, we know that the Serbs have got our 2 people. If they're not returned, then the Serbian general was going to be arrested and taken to Bihać." And the thought of that, he pooped his pants, to be honest, because, a Serb general going behind the Muslim lines didn't appeal to him. So anyway, so he's straight on the sat phone, got us released. So about an hour later, we got all our weapons, everything back, a pat on the head, and off we went, like, and me and Billy were walking back towards our lines because we're in no man. It was about a 2 kilometre no man's land, and right in the middle was where we had the meeting with the generals, which is where the UN warrior vehicles were, which were manned by British. And so me and Billy were walking back, just having a chat. Flipping out. That was a bit surreal. you know, doesn't normally happen every day. Yeah, blah blah blah. And we said, listen, it's fairly low key. So the only people that knew about it was obviously me and Billy, the other two lads in the patrol, General Smith and the OC, officer commanding B Squadron, and the B Squadron Sergeant Major. And that is about it. They're the only people that knew about it. So all of the rest of the squadron, who were scattered all over Bosnia, it never really came to light because there was no need to. That it wasn't a big drama. You know what I mean? It's okay, yeah, you get captured, but just get on with it, like So nothing, And then as soon as Billy then mentioned it on Who Dares Wins, there's quite a few people from B Squadron who were in Bosnia at the time. Were ringing him up and saying, "Billy, you've never been captured. That's a bit of a bullshit sort of story." And well, actually, we have. We just didn't make a song and dance about it. And I've got 3 boys in the military, and I actually recounted the story to them. And they said, "Flipping hell, Dad, that is a big issue, if that makes sense." But I just come from a sort of background and an era where you just got on with it. Like I say, I've just come back from nearly 2 years undercover with long hair in Northern Ireland, doing some real bad stuff over there, some ballsy stuff as well, and ultimately, getting captured and a bit of a hard time. Just get on with it. You know what I mean?